Order. That concludes questions for oral answer. Would some honourable member care to move that the House take note of miscellaneous?
I so move, Mr Speaker.
Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, we have a Prime Minister who cannot help but make a pig's ear of his job at the moment. Everything he touches just turns to dust. Let's start with the flag referendum, because that's a talking point around for a lot of people. So this was a Prime Minister who repeatedly talked up to the people of New Zealand that we must have a changed flag and it must have a silver fern on it. And he assembled as a great flag consideration panel and put dozens of the good and the great on it. And for a panel that had the job of designing a new flag, how many designers do you think were on the panel? Just how many designers do you think were on a flag redesign panel? Not a single one. Not a single one. And then they went touring the country, going out to the good citizens of New Zealand, said, come hither all, tell us your ideas about the flag. And an average of 29 people turned up to each meeting, so they weren't particularly interested. And then they thought they'd better get a bit of advice on design, and they got someone in for a couple of hours, right at the end of the process, to tell them about flag design. And then the independent objective flag consideration panel put their recommendations up to the government, and what should come out? 4 choices. And what's on 3 of them? A silver fern, to meet the wishes of the Prime Minister of the day. And one other design, the Koru, which not many people understood. Well, what actually happened was the people of New Zealand do understand that they've been manipulated and cajoled and pushed into something that they just don't want. And we saw that in the weekend, in the poll in the weekend. 70% of New Zealanders don't want to change the flag. And the absolute shambles that the whole flag consideration project is sits firmly at the feet of the Prime Minister, who will not listen, who will not learn. And then he does his level best, as he always does, to sort of yank it back to something that the Labor Party did in 1972. Because somehow that's the reason why people have got disillusioned in his conduct and in his flag reconsideration panel. Mr Speaker, there is something else that is going on. And we are a country that is facing a large number of challenges. We have rising unemployment, 13,000 more unemployed now than were this time last year. We have an economy that is rapidly slowing. Can you rapidly slow? Well, you slow down, it gets slower. And we have massive job cuts now. And would you believe, in the industry that has sustained this economy for so many years, for so many decades, agriculture and dairy. And what is happening? Our biggest dairy company, Fonterra, laying off hundreds of people. The organisation that we look to for research and development and new ideas and innovation in dairy, laying off hundreds of people because of this government's failure to support it. We have the regions doing it tough. Taranaki, my beloved home, now in recession, an official recession. Aucklanders still trying to get into their first home and who can't. And nor can thousands of others around New Zealand. New Zealand is now suffering the lowest level of home ownership. Schools having to dip into their operational grant to feed hungry kids because child poverty is so widespread in this country. So widespread in this country. Hospitals booting patients out in their pyjamas because they can't afford to keep them in their beds. This is New Zealand, 2015. 2015, and a hospital system that's had $1.7 billion cut from it. And what is the government's response to all this? What do you do with a country on not so much on the cusp, but on the brink? What do you do to it? Well, you announce the next big measure. We're going to have a panda at Wellington Zoo. This is the answer. Fluffy pandas for a fluffy government, for a fluffy Prime Minister who doesn't know what to do when faced with bad news. That's what we've come to now, Mr Speaker. And of course, it doesn't stop there. The schools are now so desperate for cash, they've set the repo man on to the parents who won't pay their voluntary contributions. And the Ministry of Education is not far behind. They've got the leather-clad ones chasing the teachers who are the victims of a botched pay system. This is New Zealand today under this government. Everything they've done now, the chickens are coming home to roost, and it is not good, and people are suffering, and New Zealanders want it to come to an end. They want a New Zealand they can be proud of, with a flag they can be proud of, with a Prime Minister who cares about them, but a Prime Minister who listens.